So I think boundaries are all over scripture. I think they're incredibly healthy. We see Paul, who's drawing a line between those who are in his group and those who are not. He names names, doesn't he? He says, look, don't follow after these guys. They're no longer interested in the things of God. They're not with me, and you need to know. Draw a clear line. He wrote to the churches where the Judaizers followed his teaching. He'd go to a church in Galatia or go to a church in Ephesus, and when he left, the Judaizers would show up and go, well, Jesus was a Jew, and he was a great Jew. He followed the law like a Jew. So if you want to be a Jesus follower, you got to be a good Jew and be circumcised. And then Paul turned around and wrote to the Galatians and said, look, instead of them just teaching circumcision, I wish they would cut themselves a little higher. These guys need to be cut off completely. It'd be better if they were never born. How's that for a boundary against the heretics? Don't listen to them at all. Who's bewitched you to believe this lying, heretical teaching? He's not mincing words. He stood up before the assembly in the Gentiles and condemned Peter's failure to eat with the Gentiles and to sit and to separate himself with the Jews. That's a pretty, Peter, you're not on the right side of this issue publicly. That's Peter. So, yeah, I think boundaries are all over scripture, and I think they're good and healthy. I think we get into trouble when we think that boundaries are an excuse for bad behavior. So you can love someone and you can forgive them and still know better than to trust them when their own unhealth is hurtful. So you don't have to subject yourself to someone's abusiveness just because you love them and forgive them for that abusiveness. Does that make sense? My forgiving somebody doesn't mean that I shouldn't have a boundary with them. There are people that I dearly love that are very close to my heart, and I love them and am hurt for them, but they're in a kind of hurtfulness that just causes a mess for other people's lives because their own life is a huge mess. And if I get too close to them, if I don't have boundaries of their involvement in my life, then my life gets consumed by the messiness that they make of it. So it's very hard. They are hurt by my boundaries, even though I love them and forgive them. That doesn't mean that I can trust them. I know that they're unhealthy. It's not a matter of whether or not I forgive them. They're totally forgiven, but that doesn't mean that they're trustworthy. And so I've had to find and continue to tweak what those boundaries look like with people, because hurt people. And if they don't get their hurt healed in the sufficiency of Christ, then they're going to continue to wreak havoc in other people's lives. And that doesn't mean we can't afford to be involved with them, but we get to seek God's design for even those relationships.